always listen to other people's feedback, right? Listen to other people's feedback, but understand certain times you can learn from them, but other times these feedbacks say more about the people who give it than about you.
Ever wonder what kind of person you are? If you are on the right path in life? Adulting is hard for many people today, but it can become easier if you understand yourself a little bit better and have better communication with others. Sherry Xia knows all about this and a little bit more. As a successful businesswoman and a founder of 2 mega companies, Sherry has made a name for herself with her in-depth YouTube videos using the MBTI instrument to explain different personality types.
嗨，大家好，我是 Sherry。今天我们要录的人格类型是 ENTJ。
However, her road to the top was not as smooth sailing as one would assume. And as a woman, she has recognized that there are sometimes more obstacles than stepping stones on the road to success. A recent report by a local job bank shows that 66% of women in Taiwan have felt discriminated against in the workplace. 7 in 10 respondents have also been victims of sexual harassment. Today, we are joined by Sherry Xia, who many of you may know from her popular YouTube channel, Sherry's Notes, to share with us her take on this survey conducted in March. Born and raised in Taiwan, Xia's family moved to Australia after she finished 7th grade in Taiwan. 4 years later, the family moved back to Taiwan, and it was the first time Xia realized just how much her talkative and assertive personality didn't fit in with the society standards.
I think I was struck by how people behave differently in different environments and how you were received differently based on the role you play. Because I was born and raised here, so you'd think I'd be used to the environment, but I wasn't.
Xia soon returned to the States and spent her university years in New York. Later, she moved to San Francisco and worked at an advertising company for 7 years. When her visa expired, she returned to Taiwan but soon found that her way of doing things was not that compatible with businesses in Taiwan.
I realized that, I'm not the supporting type. I actually want to do my own things. I have my own vision and I want to execute my vision. I wanted to start a company to help consult, to let other people understand, the underlying, the unconscious of every organization, right? That's affected by the culture and the environment and society's norms.
Xia then developed Bai Yan Global Consulting to help organizations develop a more diverse workplace. She also noticed the importance of emotional well-being and co-founded Cura Joy to help others in this aspect too. Still, in the process of creating her own business, she also observed some discrepancies in the workplace, mainly the treatment of women in the workplace.
I think globally you'll see that, relatively speaking, women have a harder time in higher positions. And I would even venture to say, specifically, Taiwan, women in higher positions have maybe a worse time. Oh, you're so capable, you make so much money, your husband must be very afraid of you. Well, there's that implication that if you're really strong and successful in your career, that you must not have a good marriage or have a good relationship. And I think that's a basic assumption that's very dangerous.
Around this time, Xia's friend introduced her to the Women on Boards organization, which promotes the importance of women in leadership and decision-making roles.
We do a lot of things to promote that idea, and we also publish a white paper every year. We conduct surveys to find out what are the challenges women face right now. One is unconscious bias. Overwhelmingly, 54% says they still face unconscious bias. And the second thing is unpaid work. And the third challenge they face is systemic, right? Discriminatory laws against women.
Swimming against the current, women who ultimately make it to the top despite these obstacles are also met with harsh stereotypes that attempt to define them in a certain way.
For one, not all successful women have bad marriages or are single. That is just not the case. And the second stereotype is that people who are emotional can't be good leaders. Women tend to be a little more emotional. And that's not a bad thing, right? Because future leaders requires a lot of empathy. We want leaders who can understand people when you have groups of people, one at a huge disadvantage, right? Sometimes we give them more support, or else it's a reproduction of the system.
Xia believes more support should be given to women, but this doesn't mean taking away men's rights. She explains that as the starting line is different for men and women, opportunities for women will become less and less the further they climb up the ladder. In today's society, as more women begin speaking up for their rights and pushing against the patriarchal system, feminism becomes a word that often comes up, though it's often given a bad rep.
哎，你们这种女权主义的 women's rights， 女人一定比男人强。I don't think that's what we're saying at all. Just because we're fighting for women's rights doesn't mean we're saying women should have more rights. The goal is not really equality, but equity. To understand that we're not trying to make women men, to value both traits, right? To value masculinity as well as femininity. I think that's what we're striving for, to have a more diverse group of leaders. I want the younger generation of women to know that you don't have to act like a man to be a good leader. You can embrace your feminine traits. You have to embrace yourself, love yourself.
As Sherry continues to advocate for more women leaders, she also stresses the importance of looking after one's mental health. She emphasizes that in pushing forward and accomplishing one's goals, it's okay to take a rest and a breather to walk further along the path to success. TVBS English News.